Welcome back to another episode of Whitley Penn Talks. Today we are here to talk about the Employee Retention Credit. I'm Frank Iannelli, a Managing Director in our Strategic Consulting Services Group, and I'm joined today by Robert Pike, the Senior Tax Manager. Before we dive into what the Employee Retention Credit is and all of the eligibility requirements, Robert, what kind of dollars are we talking about here that employers might be able to save or claim refunds for?
Sure. So yeah, let's start with an example. We recently had a client who's in the construction industry and operates here in Texas with about 50 employees. They experienced a 20% decline in revenue in each of the first two quarters of 2021 as compared to 2019, and were eligible to claim a little over $350,000 in ERC credits for the first quarter, and then another $350,000 for the second quarter, for a total of $700,000 so far this year. The credit could be up to $7,000 per employee per quarter, or 70% of qualified wages and health insurance premiums paid to employees on their first $10,000 each quarter. So that gives you some idea of the scale we're talking about. Some of our clients are actually claiming over $1 million in ERC credits this year. We're seeing a lot of companies, particularly in the construction industry, qualify as revenue has really been impacted by the freeze and rain that we experienced back in February.
Wow, that's great. Sounds like a great opportunity for companies. But what exactly is the Employee Retention Credit, and more importantly, how do businesses qualify for it?
Sure. The ERC was originally created as part of the CARES Act back in the early days of the pandemic. It was designed to ease the burden for struggling businesses in order to, just like it sounds, retain their employees, even if it might not be economical to do so during a pandemic. Similar to the PPP program. It was subsequently tweaked by the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which changed the rules a little bit for claiming the credit in the first two quarters of 2021. And then it was extended again and slightly tweaked one more time for the remainder of 2021 when it was amended back in March.
Wow. And so how do companies qualify for this credit?
So an employer can qualify in a number of different ways, but for the purposes of this discussion, we're going to focus on the 2021 version of the credit. Like I mentioned before, there are kind of three versions, all very similar, but we're going to focus on the 2021 version. First, if your business experienced a government shutdown, you're probably going to qualify for some amount of the credit. But that's not the way that most of our clients are actually qualifying. If a business has less than 500 employees and experienced a decline in revenue of more than 20% when comparing any quarter of 2021 to the same quarter in 2019, they can still qualify.
Okay. So I've heard from a number of different people that employers can only claim the credit if employees while they were unable to work. Is that true?
Only if they have more than 500 employees. If the business had fewer than 500 employees, they can be eligible for the credit simply by passing the revenue decline requirement that I just mentioned.
Okay. But what if the business experienced a revenue decline in one quarter, but the following quarter they rebounded and weren't able to pass the 20% revenue requirement?
Sure. So a business can actually elect to use the quarter previous to the quarter that they would like to claim the credit in and compare that quarter to 2019 revenue as well. So for example, if you had a really rough Q4 back in 2020, as it compared to Q4 of 2019, you could still be eligible for the credit in Q1 of 2021.
Okay. And so for those companies that qualify, how do they actually go about claiming the credit?
Well, the employee retention credit it's a payroll tax credit. So they'll claim it on their quarterly payroll tax filings on Form 941 or an amended 941, 941X. We've kind of simplified some of the mechanics while we've been talking about it, but every business should still consult their tax advisor to see if they qualify. But in broad strokes, these are kind of the basics.
Okay. Well, thank you, Robert. This is something that I think most companies could benefit from, and we appreciate you taking the time to reviewing the requirements of the program.
Absolutely. Thanks, Frank.